All right, so the first thing we're going to do is grab a Tetrapak container. I'm using this box water container, but you can just use like a milk carton kind of thing or whatever you want. So I'm just going to start by opening it up and make sure that I can get it flat. So I'm going to use scissors. I'm going to use my hands, and I'm just going to open it, make sure that there's nothing inside, and even rinse it off if it's milk, because that can stink up a little bit and it can smell bad. So I would just use soap and water, clean that out. So once I have it open and laying flat, we are going to get started. So one thing that kind of bothered me was this piece of plastic, which is where we kind of poured it out from. So I'm just going to quickly cut it out and make sure that my piece of Tetra Pak actually lays very flat. And I fast forwarded the previous part just because you don't need to sit there and watch that happen for a while. So I'm just rinsing it out and cleaning it and using a paper towel to just make sure it's dry. And then we will get started actually transferring our image. So what we're going to want to do is have images already printed. So I printed a couple just to see the different sizes and how I wanted to place it. So that's the first thing we're going to do, like figure out placement and the size we want it to be. I also have my photos printed in black and white just because that's going to help me later with values and my darks and my highlights and where I want to place those. So once I figure out that this is the image I would like to use, what I'm going to do is either use a soft graphite pencil, so I'm using it 6B to cover the entire back, or you can use graphite transfer paper. So if you decide to use the soft pencil, I would use either a 6B or an 8B. So what we're going to do is basically cover the back, especially in the area that we want to transfer the drawing from. So I will focus more on the church area, but make sure that you have a very solid layer of that graphite, because that is going to help us transfer the image very easily onto our Tetra Pak. So once we have all of that covered, what we're going to do is place the image again on our Tetra Pak and figuring out where we want to really place it. So this is going to be our final decision of where we want to place it. So think about all the folds in the milk carton. Think about if you cut out any pieces. Just think about the shape of it in itself. So I'm just going to grab mine, place it where I want it to be, and then what we're going to do is just quickly start taping it down. So what I did was I taped it to the piece of Tetra Pak first with smaller pieces of tape, and then I actually taped it to my surface just so it does not move around, and I'm sure that that is where I want it to be, and that is where it's going to stay. So once I have it taped down, what I'm going to do is grab a pen and start tracing all of the lines that I want to transfer to our milk carton. So I'm usually using a different color pen, so not a black one, usually a blue, pink, whatever you want it to be. I put a little bit of pressure to it just so it helps the transfer. And then I'm just going to figure out all the little details. I'm usually also putting in my darker values just so I know where to scratch it later. And I just take my time, go over and over and figure out every single line I want to transfer. For this church, for example, there are going to be a lot of bricks. I'm not going to sit here with my pen and trace all the bricks just because that's going to take forever. But I will take my time and figure out all the lines in the windows, all the lines in the columns, and all of those little details. I usually use a different color pen just to be sure that I know where I've already went over with a pen and where I've not gone over. So if you use a black pen, it's going to be harder to see. If you use a hot pink pen, you're going to see where you went over. Once you're sure you have all the details that you want to get transferred, what we're going to do is start removing slowly the tape. I usually remove it slowly so I can kind of see and lift the image just to see if it actually transferred before removing it all and moving it away. So once you remove, you're going to see that the image did indeed transfer. So as you can see, I'm kind of like removing it. My image has transferred. I'm probably going to do the bricks later once I start scratching it, but that is going to be my printing plate. For this one, I'm actually going to cut off the excess Tetra Pak just so I can just have my clean plate without extra parts, and I might just reuse that for something else. So this is going to be our first step of this printmaking process. So just make sure you watch the second part to just keep going with this process.